Consequently, the total national government ministerial expenditure is increased by Kenya shillings 18.2 billion from Kenya shillings 2.913 trillion to Kenya shillings 2 trillion 931. The second bill to receive Your Excellency's seal of approval is Appropriation Bill 2026. The bill anchors the administration's fourth budget and reflects the most consequential allocation of resources towards the realization of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Overall, the national government budget for the financial year 2026-2027 amounts to Kenya shillings 2.92 trillion, comprising Kenya shillings 2.07 trillion for recurrent expenditure and Kenya shillings 844.4 billion for development expenditure. The third bill to make its way to Your Excellency's ceremonial desk for assent is a finance bill, National Assembly Bill number 26 of 2026. The principal object of the bill is to amend various statutes to optimize and enhance revenue-raising measures for the national government, while supporting investment and improving tax administration. Among its key provisions, the bill provides incentives for manufacturing, public-private partnership projects, and projects under the National Infrastructure Fund. Following extensive public participation and stakeholder engagement, the House amended several provisions of the bill. To culminate this state ceremony, the final bill to receive Your Excellency's assent is the Food and Feed Safety Control Coordination Bill 2023. The bill was passed by the National Assembly with amendments on 23rd August 2023 and later passed by the Senate with further amendments on 21st March 2024, which were transmitted to the National Assembly for concurrence on 25th March 2024. Upon rejection of the Senate amendments by the National Assembly, the bill was committed to a mediation committee under Article 112(2)(b) of the Constitution, leading to a mediation version that was approved by the National Assembly on the 7th of April 2026 and by the Senate on 10th of June 2026. The principal object of the bill is to establish a coherent framework for the coordination of public institutions involved in food and feed safety and provide for the role of county governments in safeguarding food and feed safety across the Republic. Your Excellency, sir, with both houses of Parliament having discharged their law-making mandate in enacting these four bills, it is now my most humble duty to petition Your Excellency as head of state and government to exercise the authority conferred upon you under Article 115 of the Constitution and assent these bills into law. To set the stage for the presidential assent, I seek Your Excellency's kind permission to invite the following members of parliamentary leadership to witness Your Excellency set your hearts onto the bill. His Excellency the Deputy President, His Excellency the Prime Cabinet Secretary, the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Cabinet Secretaries present, the Majority Leader and Minority Party leaders of the National Assembly, the Chairperson of the Budget, Agriculture and Finance Committees, the whips of both the majority and minority parties, and Senator Oburu can join, the Solicitor General, the Principal Secretaries for Parliamentary Affairs, and the Principal Secretary for Agriculture, Your Excellency, sir, With your kind permission, I now invite the Clerk of the National Assembly to present the vellum copies of the bill for your consideration and assent.
Excellency, good evening.
Good evening, how are you?
Fine, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, I act under the instructions of the Speaker of the National Assembly to place before you today 6 vellum copies of bills for your assent. The first one, Your Excellency, being the Supplementary Appropriations Bill 2026. Your Excellency, this bill was introduced in the National Assembly by the distinguished member for Alego Usonga, the Honorable Samuel Atandi, having emanated from the Cabinet. 23rd, Your Excellency. Excellency, this is it's a modest bill. The National Treasury advised the House to make modest changes to the budget for the financial year, which is ending next week on Tuesday, by adding additional capital of only 18 billion to certain areas which had deficiency and which have the capacity to absorb within the next 7 days. Excellency, these areas include monies for payment for pending bills, for the administration of the national exams, which were held last year and others this year, Your Excellency. And therefore, the Ministry of Education will receive 1.5 billion towards that exercise. Your Excellency, there is also funds for payment of pending bills for Mwacha Dam, amounting to 2.3 billion, again towards payment of pending bills for the construction of that facility. The bill, Your Excellency, also has an amount of money going towards a Nyota program, particularly for our youth. Again, the National Treasury has divided that money between the Ministry of Youth Affairs and one other ministry, Your Excellency, towards a Nyota program for implementation. Ministry of SMEs, Your Excellency, towards implementation of Nyota program and for absorption by Tuesday next week, Your Excellency. There is also a small amount, Your Excellency, going to the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation towards its international obligation with respect to the ongoing FIFA World Cup and other rights, Your Excellency. There is also a modest amount, Your Excellency, going towards security sector, Your Excellency, to bridge the gap for the few days that are remaining before the end of this financial year. The second bill, Your Excellency, is the Appropriations Bill for the year 2026-2027. This bill, Your Excellency, was also introduced by the distinguished member for Alego Usonga on behalf of the Budget and Appropriations Committee of the National Assembly. They held extensive public participation within and outside the House during consideration of the estimates. Your Excellency, a number of changes have been effected by the committee following those public participation exercise. This bill also actualizes the Division of Revenue Act, which you assented to only a few days ago, and therefore it divides money amongst the various state departments for the national government, and also provides for funds for the judiciary, which is now currently funded at 30.8 billion, which has gradually risen from 16 billion or thereabout in the year 2022 to the current 30.8 billion in the financial year starting Wednesday next week. There is also funds, Your Excellency, for the legislature, which has also been funded to a tune of 50 billion for the 4 votes of Parliament. Your Excellency, amongst the biggest gainers in the appropriation for the year 2026-2027 is the Ministry of Education and all the sectors under the State Department for Education, including the Teacher Service Commission, Your Excellency. The third bill this evening, Your Excellency, to receive your assent is the Finance Bill 2026. This bill, Your Excellency, was introduced in the House as required under the PFM Act. It was brought initially as a draft by the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury, who is former minority leader in the National Assembly, Your Excellency. When he came to read the budget, when he came as required by the Constitution, he brought it to the House by 30th of April. Thereafter, it was published before the House went on recess. That recess period, Your Excellency, allowed the House to undertake extensive public participation on the bill. The Committee on Finance, led by the distinguished member for Molo, the Honorable Kuria Kimani, undertook extensive public participation in 13 counties. We also received over 100,000 written memoranda from different individuals, corporate entities, and our business community, Your Excellency, and other individuals. The committee also engaged severally a number of entities for a full 2 weeks, Your Excellency, while going through the bill. The bill initially had 56 clauses. By now it has 54 clauses, Your Excellency. We lost 2 and a few others were introduced along the way.
How many again did you say the clauses were?
Initially it had 56 clauses when it was brought by the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury. Today it has 54 clauses.
We had some member of Parliament saying there was a clause 169. Was that true?
That, Your Excellency, may not be the finance bill for 2026, Your Excellency. Probably another piece of legislation. So, Your Excellency, after extensive public participation, the committee also initiated a number of changes to this bill, which, Your Excellency, you have been briefed about, and we request that you brief the nation about at the appropriate time. But allow me, Honorable Your Excellency, just to mention 2 aspects of it. One of them is that there is no mobile money tax introduced, because as National Assembly, we took a lot of time explaining that to the public, because those provisions are not contained in this bill at all. Your Excellency, there are also no provisions amending any land laws in this bill, as was initially said in the public, particularly in the social media. And the committee also took time to explain that to the public. So that, Your Excellency, there is no single proposal to amend land laws or to introduce any levy relating to land under the Finance Bill 2026. Your Excellency, conversely, this bill attempts, and in many ways indeed does, introduce efficient ways of tax administration as opposed to myriad of new taxes. The bill proposes ways in which the Kenya Revenue Authority will make it easy for them to collect tax, Your Excellency. The last bill to get your assent, Your Excellency, is a bill called Food and Feed Control and Coordination Bill. This bill, Your Excellency, emanated from the Cabinet in the year 2023. It was introduced in the House by the leader of the majority party, the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, was passed by the House towards the end of 2023, sent to the Senate.
Did you say that? Did you say something about land taxes?
Your Excellency, yes, the finance bill has not introduced any tax
on freehold land and all this.
On any land, whether freehold or leasehold, Your Excellency. As
I thought I had some character in some rally saying there was introduction of. Was that part of this bill or another one?
Your Excellency, the Finance Bill amends the following pieces of statutes: the VAT Act, Excise Duty Act, Business Fees and Levies Act, Stamp Duty Act, Affordable Housing Act, and does not in any way amend any law relating to land in the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency. It also amends the Income Tax Act, Your Excellency. That's a finance bill. This particular one, Your Excellency, relating to food and feed safety, is intended to control and manage how food is handled for human beings, or human consumption, and also animal consumption in accordance with international standards. When the two houses disagreed, the speakers of both houses appointed a mediation committee chaired by the distinguished member for Tigania West, the Honorable John Kanyuithia Mutunga, and the senator for Bungoma, the Honorable Senator David Wakoli. The mediation committee agreed on a version which was presented to both houses, Your Excellency, and the houses agreed with that version and passed it. It's a bill concerning counties, Your Excellency, and therefore it had to go to both houses. Your Excellency, to give effect to the supplementary appropriation bill and appropriation bill, may I request Your Excellency to now also assent, to now also sign the treasury warrants so as to authorize the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury, Your Excellency, to make the necessary drawings from the consolidated fund so that the money can be withdrawn from the fund commencing tomorrow upon publication of the bill, supplementary appropriation bill, into Act, so that the entities listed there can therefore benefit from the 18.2 billion which is contained in the supplementary appropriation bill, which will become an act of Parliament following your assent and publication into law. There are 4 copies for each, Your Excellency, for the supplementary appropriations and for the main appropriations. Your Excellency, we will be requesting our Attorney General to, with your consent, to gazette the supplementary appropriation immediately following the assent so that it can come into force. And then after the main appropriations at the beginning, just before the beginning of the next financial year, is Wednesday next week. Excellency, I seek your consent. to resign my commission for the day at this point.
With Your Excellency's assent and the sacred trust it carries, the implementation of the administration's plan gains renewed impetus. Your Excellency, sir, I now invite you to hand over the copies of the acts to His Excellency the Deputy President, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury for implementation, the Honorable Attorney General for publication into law, and the Principal Secretaries present for implementation. Your Excellency may also graciously present ceremonial copies of the acts to the Speaker of the National Assembly, the leaders of the majority party in both houses of Parliament, and other members of Parliament present, and all esteemed state officials in attendance. Your Excellency will unveil and display an open ceremonial copy of the acts, while other state officials shall bear closed copies. May I now kindly request all members of the Executive and Parliament to resume their seats. And whilst remaining standing, join me in welcoming His Excellency the President.
Thank you very much. Please, let's take our seats. Ladies and gentlemen, with my assent to the Finance Bill and into Finance Act now 2026 and the Appropriation Bill Act 2026, Kenya now has both the legal framework and the resources to finance its priorities, create jobs, strengthen livelihoods, and invest in the future under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Budget is more than an accounting exercise. It is a statement of national priorities. This government serves the ordinary people, the farmers, the border riders, the mama mbogas, the workers, the entrepreneurs, students, and every young person striving for a better future. Let me begin with the Finance Act, which has sparked an important national conversation about taxation, fairness, and development. Before the passage of the bill, Parliament conducted extensive public participation, received submissions from more than 170 organizations and over 100,000 individual citizens, and opened digital platforms for Kenyans to share their views and suggestions. Let me state clearly, this law does not raise taxes on ordinary Kenyans. Instead, It improves fairness by strengthening compliance, closing loopholes, and ensuring that every person and business pays what is lawfully due. We are pursuing tax avoidance, not taxpayers, offshore schemes, not ordinary wages, and leakages, not livelihoods. Contrary to propaganda, misinformation, disinformation, and fake news, the government did not propose any taxes that were largely alleged. Specifically, there was no proposal to introduce taxes on freehold land, or any land for that matter. There was no proposal to introduce taxes on second-hand clothing or mitumba. There was no change to the rental income tax regime as alleged. There was no proposal to introduce tax on bottled water. There is no new tax on M-Pesa or mobile money. The money you send to your family, your business, or your friends will move tomorrow as it has always done. There is no new tax on mobile phones, airtime, or data. There is no new tax on locally manufactured packaging used for essential products. The Finance Act also supports livelihoods and growth through incentives for motorcycles, electric passenger buses, electric bicycles, solar batteries, and locally assembled mobile phones, making innovation, clean energy, and opportunity more accessible to many Kenyans. To protect our sugar industry, the Act increases duty on imported sugar from Kenya shillings 7 shillings and 50 cents to 40 shillings per kilogram, safeguarding 17 operational factories, sugar factories that is in Kenya, and the livelihoods of 2 million farmers and 10 million Kenyans who depend on the sugar sector. A 6-month tax amnesty. A 6-month tax amnesty will waive penalties and interest on outstanding tax obligations, allowing taxpayers to regularize their affairs while improving liquidity in the economy, in their businesses, and in government. Mortgage tax benefits previously available through banks have now been extended to borrowers from registered microfinance institutions, enabling them to enjoy the same relief that has been available to borrowers in banks. To address concerns raised by returning travelers, including Kenyans who travel abroad and members of our diaspora, we have increased the duty-free allowance from 39,000 Kenya shillings to 260,000 Kenya shillings for gifts and personal effects that Kenyans can buy as they travel or as they come home from their jobs abroad. To progressively reduce our debt burden, projects undertaken through public-private partnerships and our new National Infrastructure Fund will now benefit from reduced taxes, lowering delivery costs, accelerating implementation, and improving efficiency. This is what a fair tax system looks like, one that protects the vulnerable, rewards enterprise, promotes compliance, and shares responsibility fairly. The true measure of a budget is not what it collects, but what it makes possible. This budget invests in people, productivity, and prosperity. Ladies and gentlemen, education receives the largest allocation in this budget. Kenya shillings 784 billion, up from 526 billion in 2022, has been allocated by this budget. This investment reflects a simple belief: every child deserves the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to succeed. To honor our commitment to teachers on contract, 20,000 teachers will transition to permanent and pensionable term, as has been provided by this budget. In addition, we will recruit a further 24,000 teachers, bringing the total number of teachers hired under this administration to 124,000 teachers. I had made a commitment of 116,000 teachers. Now, with this hiring of 24,000 teachers under this budget, we will have crossed the 116,000 into 124,000. The Higher Education Loans Board will receive 56.7 billion Kenya shillings, up from 15 billion Kenya shillings in 2022. And this is in recognition of what I have gathered as I moved throughout the country, listened to many students in our TVET and universities, that they needed additional money to fund their education. We have also allocated 40.4 billion shillings for university, KMTC, and TVET scholarships, and a further 6.6 billion to settle universities' lecturers' arrears that has been very long standing. As a result, KMTC students are now eligible to apply for Higher Education Loans Board funding. This was not the case in the past, but now, as I went around, specifically when I was at some point in Kisii, I remember one of the student leaders coming to me and telling me, Mr. President, we are as good as students in college as those in Tibet and as those in universities. I am happy that I can respond positively to that student leader. Funding for free day secondary education and junior school capitation has increased to Kenya shillings 84.6 billion from 52 billion shillings in 2022, while 7 billion has been allocated for free primary education. We have further provided 1.5 billion for examinations, as I have just signed here today, and another 9.9 billion for the administration of national exams going into the future. To support 2.8 million vulnerable learners, Kenya shillings 3 billion has been allocated for our school feeding program to keep more students in class. And I want to commend counties that are partnering with us in making provisions for support of this school feeding program. Under the competence-based education program, Kenya shillings 15 billion will be invested in classrooms, laboratories, and STEM education, particularly in underserved areas. Kenyans will remember that one of the biggest challenges that we encountered when we came into office was shortage of learning spaces. So far, we have built 23,000 classrooms. These 15 billion Kenya shillings allocated under this budget will enhance more classrooms, more laboratories, specifically 1,600 laboratories that will be built, especially in marginalized and underserved areas. In health, this act increases funding by Kenya shillings 43.1 billion shillings from last year, from 132 billion last year to Kenya shillings 175.5 billion this year. Primary health care will now receive 19.1 billion. As a result, let me state this very clearly, that no Kenyan should pay for outpatient services at dispensaries, health centers, and sub-county health facilities in any social health authority accredited, public, private, or faith-based hospitals. Let me make this very clear. We have had incidences where some hospitals around the country, public, private, faith-based, are charging citizens who go for outpatient services, yet that service has been paid for and provided by the government of Kenya. Today, I am making this absolutely clear to any facility in the Republic of Kenya that charges any citizen when they go for outpatient service, that we will shortly make it criminal for anybody to charge any citizen, because the Constitution of Kenya, Section 43, mandates the government of Kenya to provide health of the highest possible to every citizen. And therefore, with the provision of additional resources in the manner of 19.1 billion, citizens should now be able to go, as they have done, to hospital, consultations, medicine, treatment, and walk away without having to pay. Similarly, and I say this for all hospitals, be they private, be they public, or be they faith-based, because all a hospital needs to do, if a citizen is not registered, they should register them and treat them for free. We will pay for the costs. We have also allocated Kenya shillings 3.7 billion to support all our 107,000 community health promoters through replenishment of kits and tools, and by covering their social health authority contributions. As we all know, our community health promoters have been the greatest champions. In fact, they have been our shujas when it comes to matters health, in every village, in every town, in every city. The kits they are using are now almost 2.5 years old. we are now going to renew all their kits, and because they are providing a service, the government of Kenya will partner with the counties to pay social health authority for every community health promoter. Funding for Kenya Medical Supplies Authority has increased from 5 billion to 21 billion to strengthen the supply of medicines and medical commodities. With this investment, there should be no shortage of essential medicine in our health facilities. Let me say this for the avoidance of any doubt. The biggest challenge that citizens have often complained about is the lack of medicine in our health facilities, the hakuna dawa issue. Now, with this provision, I am asking all counties and all hospitals in Kenya to make sure that medicine is available in every health facility in the Republic of Kenya. I will convene a health summit within the next 1 month to ensure that we fully realize the benefits of these resources and translate them into improved services for all the people of Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, agriculture remains the backbone of our economy and the source of livelihoods for millions of Kenyans. Funding for the sector has therefore increased to Kenya shillings 63 billion from 44 billion last year. We have set aside Kenya shillings 20 billion for seed and fertilizer subsidies, up from no funding in 2022. Already, 6.5 million farmers are benefiting. This investment will maintain fertilizer prices at Kenya shillings 2,500 per bag, 50 kilogram bag, down from 7,000 in 2022. We are equally investing 5.4 billion in food resilience programs, Kenya shillings 2.7 billion to support farmers and workers in the sugar sector. And as citizens know, that is a sector that we have finally turned the corner with, a sector that was almost collapsing. Today, all the sugar mills are working. We have licensed another 5 sugar mills in the last 2 years, and we have made sure that progressively our estimates indicate that in the next 1 to 2 years, Kenya will be a net exporter of sugar. And that is why we have said imported sugar will now attract heavy duties. We have equally provided 2 billion Kenya shillings to waive coffee farmers' debts. We did provide 1 billion in the budget we just concluded, 2 billion in the budget we just concluded. We are providing another 2 billion in this budget, and we will complete the coffee waiver for farmers in the coming year. We have also provided 500 million shillings to enhance resources in our coffee cherry fund. Young farmers will benefit from a Kenya shillings 1.3 billion credit facility, while pastoral resilience and livestock commercialization programs have received 3.3 billion and 1.3 billion respectively. We have also allocated 5.5 billion to support 300,000 pastoralist farmers in 21 arid and semi-arid counties through cooperatives and market access initiatives. Additional investment will expand access to milk coolers and value addition equipment in the dairy sector. We're already negotiating and in final stages of an additional 650 milk coolers and value addition equipment for our dairy sector. To support rural industrialization and value addition, we have provided 3.85 billion to county aggregation and industrial parks to complete ongoing projects and to operationalize completed facilities with common user facilities. We have already 16 county aggregation and industrial parks that are complete, and we have provided in this year's budget money for their operationalization, money for equipment, money for common user facilities, so that locally produced products can now be processed, value added, before they go into the market. Our goal is simple: to help farmers produce more, earn more, and build greater prosperity in rural Kenya. We are equally committed to empowering women, young people, and grassroots communities, with nearly 110 billion committed to programs that will expand opportunity and strengthen livelihoods. This includes Kenya shillings 22.6 billion for youth programs and 12.4 billion for the National Youth Service to recruit an additional 10,000 young people, modernize facilities, and strengthen skills development. Additionally, we will be funding with other partners Kenya shillings 6.5 billion for classrooms, workshops, and hostels to accommodate an additional 50,000 recruits in our National Youth Service. Already, we have provided money for the purchase of 50 graders for the National Youth Service and 50 tippers for the National Youth Service, for them to work with the Nairobi regeneration and finally for other programs around the country. In addition, 8.8 billion shillings has been allocated for affordable credit to micro and small enterprises. And I just completed a program with Africa Guarantee Finance Fund for them to support this exercise as we work with Kenya Industrial Estates, Kenya Development Corporation, and our MSME sector. Kenya shillings 5.3 billion for the Nyota program and Kenya shillings 2 billion for paid internship is part of the resources that we have made available. We have also allocated 25 billion for cash transfer benefiting 1.2 million vulnerable households. Kenya shillings 8.9 billion for orphans and vulnerable children. Kenya shillings 4.3 billion for hunger safety net program. Kenya shillings 1.5 billion for persons living with severe disabilities. And Kenya shillings 900 million to support girls' education and dignity. To strengthen grassroots administration, public participation, and access to government services, Kenya shillings 3.9 billion has been allocated for village elders across the country. We realize this is a resource that is often available for grassroots sensitization, grassroots mobilization, creating harmony in our communities, but they have not been recognized in the past. We have now recognized the 100,000 plus village elders who will now be part and parcel of the ecosystem of government delivery. To enhance access to justice and strengthen the rule of law, funding for the judiciary has now increased from 16 billion shillings in 2022 to 30 billion shillings in this budget. Again, it is because of our commitment that funding the judiciary is not just about justice. It is also about development. And this is not a cost to the people of Kenya. It is investment in our development. Affordable housing remains a key pillar of our economic transformation. With 274,000 housing units under construction and more than 640,000 jobs supported directly and indirectly. To sustain this momentum, we have committed 138 billion to affordable housing and urban development. This will finance affordable housing units, our hostels for close to 180,000 students in our universities, in our technical training colleges, in our Kenya medical training colleges, and also to support the construction of markets across Kenya so that our mama mbogas and all other traders operate in an environment that is conducive, that is hygienic, and that is protected. We are investing in housing, infrastructure, and energy, and the digital connectivity, because growth requires jobs, creates mobility, and also opportunity. Accordingly, 225 billion has been allocated to roads and Kenya shillings 52 billion to transport infrastructure. I did make a commitment that we are going to complete the ongoing 6,000 kilometers of roads in Kenya today. And we are working on other transport infrastructure to support logistics and mobility in our country. This includes 20.8 billion for the extension of the standard gauge railway from Naivasha to Kisumu and onwards to Malaba, and Kenya shillings 4.2 billion for the Dongo Kundu Special Economic Zone, and also an additional 3.8 billion for flood mitigation and emergency preparedness, as we are getting from the weathermen that we might be expecting an El Nino. Reliable and affordable energy remains essential to economic growth and household welfare. We have therefore allocated 34.1 billion to the sector, including 26.1 billion for rural electrification and grid expansion, Kenya shillings 3.7 billion for power generation, and Kenya shillings 3.2 billion for alternative energy technologies. To cushion Kenyans from volatility in the global fuel market, including disruptions arising from conflict in the Middle East, including in Iran, we have set aside 21.5 billion for fuel stabilization and provided seed capital for the establishment of the East African refinery as a mechanism for a long-term solution to challenges that face us in our fuel supply. To strengthen national security and improve operational readiness, 6.5 billion shillings has been allocated for modernization of equipment, transport, and motor vehicle fleet for our police and security agencies. In partnership With other agencies, we are also supporting the delivery of 10,000 housing units for officers in the National Police Service, Kenya Prison Service, and the National Youth Service. The digital economy, where many young people are finding jobs and opportunities, will receive 10.5 billion to do the following. Number one, connect 20,000 public institutions, including schools, hospitals, police stations, to fiber optic. And this will also include the ICT hubs being constructed by our members of parliament. Number two, to provide 50,000 devices for our Jitume centers and ICT hubs that have been constructed or being constructed by our members of parliament and by all other actors in this sector to promote digital commerce, digital learning, and digital jobs. Number three, to digitize 12 government departments and agencies to make government services much more accessible, much more affordable, and easy to be accessed by citizens. And number five, to expand digital skills development and training programs. On water, sanitation, and environmental protection, we will spend 112.4 billion Kenya shillings, including funding for the completion of major projects such as Umma Dam in Kitui, Sioi Murunyi Dam in West Pokot, Thwake Dam in Makueni, and Mwache Dam in Kwale. This will also include 25 other water projects that are now in the process of being advertised across the country, and we are going to give you a list of those projects. In the blue economy space, investments will include completion of a center of excellence in Kabonyo, Kisumu County, Namaret in Shimoni, Kwale County, the operationalization of Shimoni Fish Port in Kwale, the completion of 15 fish landing sites and markets at a cost of 1.5 billion shillings, the establishment of search and rescue center in Kisumu, the acquisition of rescue boats, both in Lake Victoria and in the Indian Ocean, and the provision of 272 fishing boats for our fishermen. This will also include a ferry service that will be made available in Likoni, one in Lake Turkana, and the other one in Lake Victoria. That money has already been provided for. To strengthen Kenya's position as a global sporting nation, 26.4 billion has been allocated to complete 39 sports stadia in Kenya, prepare for AFCON in 2027, reward our outstanding sportsmen and women who represent Kenya on the international stage, and support sports competition and tournaments nationwide. We have also allocated 14.2 billion for the completion of the Bomas Convention Center, and will work with counties to identify and develop signature tourism sites and products supported by marketing initiatives with the aim of moving our tourism arrivals to 5.2 million by 2028 and close to 1 trillion shillings in revenue, up from where we are today. This year, we reached a mark of 2.7 million tourists, and we raised close to 500 billion from the tourism sector. Taken together, these investments reflect a government focused not only on managing the present, but also on building a stronger future. A future with more jobs, more opportunities, better services, and shared prosperity for all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, nation building is work in progress. But I can say with confidence, the foundations are stronger, the direction is right, and the results are becoming increasingly clear and visible. I have said before that Kenya will become a first world nation within a generation. Some hear ambition. I see possibility. Every serious plan must be financed. Every transformation must be funded. And every national aspiration must be backed by action. That is what this budget does. It invests in our children through education, in our families through healthcare, in our farmers through agriculture, in our youth through jobs, enterprise, and skills, and in our future through infrastructure, innovation, and the prudent utilization of public resources. The ultimate measure of this budget will be the opportunities it creates and the lives it transforms. History does not reward pessimism, cowardice, and indecision. History rewards the courageous, the resilient, the builders, and those who refuse to surrender their future to doubt, division, or fear. That is the task before us: to build a stronger economy, create more jobs, to expand opportunity, to protect the vulnerable, and to ensure that prosperity reaches every part of our republic. I did make a commitment to the people of Kenya that the old exclusive development paradigm is gone, that going into the future, every part of Kenya, irrespective of how they voted, irrespective of who they are, irrespective of the past, will benefit from the development of our nation. And that no part of Kenya, no region of Kenya, no section of Kenya, no community of the Republic of Kenya, no religious persuasion will be left behind, that we are going to move together. Together, we must reject propaganda. We must reject misinformation. We must reject disinformation. We must reject fake news. We must reject insults. We must reject hate. We must reject ethnic bigotry and profiling. And we must reject division. I therefore call upon all Kenyans to remain united, confident, and focused on our shared purpose. Let us continue to work together, to build together, and to move forward together. To every farmer feeding the nation, every entrepreneur building a business, every worker striving for a better life, every young person pursuing opportunity, and every family seeking dignity and security, this budget is yours. The government is working for you, and together we are building Kenya's future. The vision is clear. The agenda is set. The plan is funded and on course. the transformation is happening. And together, we are building the prosperous, inclusive, and modern nation that we all deserve. Thank you very much for your attention. Asanteni sana. Okay.
Thank you.